So lately I've been doing a lot of research on Andrew Yang. Now, if you don't know who Andrew Yang is, he's basically someone that's running for presidency. And if you're asking me, Tommy, why are you doing a video on this guy? It's because he's actually an entrepreneur and he's actually trying to become the president, okay? Now, I found 10 core principles in all of his speeches, his entire political agenda, okay? Now, he claims to be an entrepreneur, so he's not really lying. He claims to be very transparent and all these things. And I found a lot of his core principles to be very good. Now, by the title of this video, you probably think that I'm voting for this guy. In reality, I might not, I may, I don't know. Do I think he's good? I don't know, and I'm not really interested in what he is and what he isn't. I'm really interested in his core beliefs and actually seeing what he's actually saying behind all those little shifty words that he actually uses, okay? So now the first thing I do want to talk about is what every single person in this video is actually here for, okay? And it's this entire thing of the universal basic income. Now I found out a lot of core details directly from the horse's mouth, which is basically Andrew, okay? He's been talking about it a lot, and he's actually been saying a lot of good things about it. Now, what it is, basically, this universal basic income is that every single citizen gets $1,000 a month, okay? And that includes if you make $1 million, that includes if you make $1 a year. Like, it doesn't matter if you get $1 million. Now, by the way, when you tell people this, right, people automatically say like, okay, oh my gosh, sorry, so I'm gonna be receiving this extra money. That's great. Awesome. All right. Well, basically, it's not really like that. You actually have to sign up for it. And then if you're eligible, well, not eligible, like they're going to want you to actually register for it. So you can actually get the $1,000 a month. Right. Why? Because it's actually cheaper than what people are actually receiving right now, which is basically food stamps, welfare, and a whole bunch of other things. Now, you're probably asking me, Tommy, what do you mean? How does that work? Okay. And here's where things start to get a little tricky. By Andrew actually proposing this, he's actually going to get people to start working more. Now, it's a very very weird tactic, because whenever we think about people being forced to work, people being forced to actually start stuff, we think about Republicans, okay? We never really think about Democrats. Democrats are basically like more like lenient when it comes to that and very liberal. They're like, okay, people are just having a hard time. They just need some money to actually get on their feet. Then they can start finding jobs and stuff like that, right? But Republicans are usually the ones, like at least in the media, that look like, okay, we got to get these people working. No more welfare, no more this. Well, how about if Andrew actually found something right down the middle that actually makes you receive money, well, actually lets you receive money, and also kind of promotes you to actually get a job. Why? Because we all know that the poverty level in the United States is like, I think it's between like 20,000 and 15,000, okay? Well, by you getting $1,000 every single month, well, guess what? That's just enough for you not to be able to do anything with it, okay? It's just an extra $1,000, so you still have to get a job no matter what. And by the way, kids are not included into this, so you can't be like, okay, I'm gonna have like 10 kids. That's like $10,000 a month plus my 1,000. That's 11,000. So I'm good to go. I don't even need to go to college. Okay, no, that's not what I'm saying. Now, here's where things get a little tricky, and from your mentality, I don't know who's watching this video, but here's where it gets tricky. Okay, imagine you're a single mom, right? And you have 2 kids, right? And you're on welfare, and you're receiving maybe $1,000 from welfare. You're getting Medicaid, and you're getting all your insurance covered. You're also getting food stamps. You also even getting help with the rent, okay? With Section 8, right? You're receiving all this stuff, right? That's probably $3,000, $4,000 in help, right? And that's where things start to get a little tricky. You're probably saying, all right, Tommy, that sounds good. What are you talking about? Well, it means that if she chooses to opt into this $1,000 dividend that you get every single month, you no longer can qualify for any of that stuff. And that's where things start to get a little tricky, okay? That's when you actually see the transparency in what he's actually offering. He's basically going to cut the entire welfare system in literally like almost half, okay? So the government's already spending a ton of money on like welfare and stuff like that, right? But by offering people just $1,000 in cash, they actually don't get all that help that they actually need, and people are actually going to be forced to actually get up and actually go to work or actually find a job. Well, that's actually good, Tommy, because people need to work, people need to do this. Well, what if you are a single mom and you don't have, it's impossible for you actually to work because you need to find a job that's actually stable? Listen, guys, I don't want to seem like a bad guy or a guy that supports all this stuff, but there are people that are out there that legitimately need help, right? And all these things are in place with the welfare because of the Roosevelt New Deal, right? If you guys know about that, that was during the Depression, and people were actually killing themselves and committing suicide. And because of this, it's actually helped people actually fall back. So if you fall back and you can't get up, then, the government steps in and be like, hey, we can help you. Here's some support. Actually try to get back on your feet. But doing this entire $1,000, right? If you opt in for this stuff, then you actually lose the ability to actually qualify for everything else. Now, here's where it actually gets tricky. So here's number 2, right? He's offering this, right? And this entire plan actually keeps the poor poor, but actually keeps the poor poor in a way that they can't survive off of any other welfare thing. So in the sense that you need to get up, you need to get a job. For the people that are trying to abuse the system, there's no way they can actually abuse the system unless you're like a junkie and you basically don't care. You just want the $1,000 in cash. You don't care if you eat, you don't care about anything, and you just want to live in a shelter for the rest of your life. There are always people that are going to be like that, so we can't really like vouch the entire country just based on that. Okay, now the second thing I want to talk about is like, you're probably asking me, Tommy, well, what about the insurance part? Okay, what happens is that he actually believes that, well, that's great, the insurance should be free, and that's where that comes in. Okay, so it's basically, okay, we'll cover that $12,000 a year, right? That's just for you. That's just a dividend, but it's not enough for you actually to live. So you do need to get a job, but we'll actually give you like free insurance, right? Which is great. Now, what about everything else, right? And that's where it actually comes in. Well, he's not going to give you everything else. Now, for example, I think he doesn't really support like college, right? That's my third point. Okay, so keep up. He doesn't support free college, and he actually is not with the Bernie Sanders thing. And here's his entire point to that. And I kind of liked it, to be honest. I don't like the rest of the other stuff because it's kind of like, you know, it's kind of like kind of scummy in a way. Well, not scummy. I don't want to say scummy because I really like the guy. You know, he actually makes a very good point, but it's kind of tricky in a way. You know, it's kind of like telling people like, hey, I'll give you $1,000, but I'm going to take away $4,000 in benefits. Okay. And now you're effed. You know what I mean? So here's my deal, right? So what about the free college thing? Okay. He doesn't agree with it, but he is willing to do this entire plan. Like, look, man, this guy is really business-like. And you know how business people are very like, you know, like cutthroat. That's like a thing you say in business, and it's kind of true. So in college, he says, well, Tommy, you know, college has gone up like 2.5%. Well, that's times like twice as high, right? In the past 10, 20 years, okay? And as you can see, their entire curriculum hasn't increased as much, okay? So that means that you are making the price higher, but the quality is still kind of the same. So how can we actually fix that? That's a question that Joe Rogan actually asked him. So here's my entire thing. His response was this, right? He said, well, what we actually plan on doing, right, because you can't even default on these loans. It means that the government actually going to step in and they're going to tell you, well, here's what we will do. If you can go to college, you can do whatever you want to do, right? But if you go to college and you propose to give up 10% of your income for the next 10 years, then you're good to go. You're cleared off your student loans. Well, Tommy, I'm not going to give up 10% of my income. I can just pay this entire thing. Well, not really, right? Because here's where this entire thing actually comes up. You know, Bernie Sanders says free college, you know, this is going to fix the economy, but in reality, it doesn't fix the economy. It doesn't even fix the job employment basis. Why? Because in reality, the average person that gets out of college, well, I think it's like around 42, 48% comes out of college and cannot find a job, okay? Well, Tommy, they need to pick a better major, they need to do this, they need to do that. I'm not talking about that. I'm just talking about the average person that goes into college. They do come up with student loans, but they don't come out with a job. You know, almost half of those people don't have jobs. And by the way, almost half of those people that do start college, 1 to 6 years, like they don't get to finish. Now, here's where it kind of gets tricky, right? Here's my fourth point. Keep up, guys, okay? So here's my fourth point, right? Imagine by him, right, using this entire like $1,000, right? Because he makes this entire point, right? Imagine you want to go to college and you're getting this $1,000 that can actually help you actually go to college and actually relieve some of the stress. You can actually finish it with no problems. Now, here's where that gets kind of tricky, right? Because the only way you can actually qualify for these student loans is if you're full-time in college, right? That means you're taking 4 classes, I think, and the amount of hours has to be like a little bit more different. So you have to be full-time, right? So imagine trying to do college full-time, right? So you can qualify for that financial aid and actually getting that $1,000, but actually still trying to have a job because that $12,000 isn't enough for you to actually live, okay? So that's where things get really, really, really tricky. And my entire thing is this, right? Imagine this, guys. Here's my fifth point, by the way. Keep up. Now, here's my fifth point, right? Imagine that this entire like universal income thing becomes a standard. It means that no one out there receives welfare anymore. They only receive this $1,000, right? And you might say, well, Tommy, that's not a problem. People are still going to receive money. That's great. Like, that's going to help people. Not really. And here's why. You might say, well, people just need to get jobs. People just need to do this. No, because I myself, right, I've seen all perspectives, okay? I've seen people that are rich. I live with people that were actually rich. I talk to people that are rich. I talk to people that are poor. And I talk to people that are like scummy, you know, like the scum of the scum that just want to like, you know, get welfare and just stay in welfare for the rest of their lives because they're good with that, right? What about if you have a single mother, right? And she cannot get a place to live, right? She's in a shelter with 2, 3 kids, and now she's kind of screwed, okay? Now, she applies, right, she can get Section 8, right? She can get help for an apartment. She can get help with food stamps. She can get help with her kids. And the government actually helps her. And that's over $5,000 or $6,000, right? But imagine if this universal thing becomes a standard and that no longer is an option, but the only option is, well, there's no options, miss. The only thing we can do is just give you $1,000 a month, and that's it. You're cut off from everything else, right? Imagine that, right? Imagine you live in New York City, okay, where the average rent is maybe between $1,000 all the way up to $1,600 in the Bronx, okay? And that gets you like a 1-bedroom, 2-bedroom apartment, okay? And if you go to Manhattan, you can't get anything with that. Maybe like a room, okay? Imagine that. Like, my entire thing is this, guys, right? This entire thing sounds great, but it's not really that great, right? It only kind of works for people that are actually doing, like, like the standard, like the basically like the golden people in life, people that are, just trying to work, have a regular job, and actually get this entire supplement income. And even those people, that's my 7th point, by the way, keep up. Now, even those people, right, that imagine you have a regular job, right, regular job, and you have a job, and you're getting this money, and, well, not you, right, because you're smarter than those people. Those people have a regular job and they have stress in their life. They don't know what to do. And then they receive this $1,000 every single month because either way, they couldn't qualify for any like governmental help, right? Because they were making enough money. But now they have an extra $1,000 a month. That's $12,000 a year. Now, do you think that $12,000 actually going to help them in anything? It's been proven that people that make more money spend more money. They actually keep themselves in debt. So that $12,000 that they're going to get a year is going to go right back into the economy. Right back into taxes, you know what I mean? So I listen, man, like I don't agree with a lot of things he's saying, but I can see like beyond like what he's saying to the public, I can see this entire business strategy. It's kind of like basically I have a business and I tell my employees, well, I'll give you $1,000 a month. Do you like that? Yeah, I like that. I want that. Okay. All right. Here's the catch. You get no more benefits. You know what I mean? And those benefits were equal like $3,000, $4,000. Okay. And here's my entire thing, right? Here's my 8th point. Keep up. Now, he's saying that also the reason that he actually wants to do this is basically because, if people are losing their jobs because of technology, and I do kind of get that, okay? People are actually going to keep losing their jobs because technology is getting not harder and harder. Technology is getting better and better, okay? That means that people that used to work on car assembly lines, they're not going to be needed anymore because of those car arms that Elon Musk is developing, okay? People that work in call centers, calling people every single day, they're not going to be needed anymore because you have robots actually doing that. AIs actually sound exactly like human beings and actually respond to everything you have to say. And for truckers, people that drive trucks, people are not really going to need those jobs anymore. Why? Because Tesla and a lot of companies are working on, algorithms that actually drive better than people and they don't fall asleep. Okay. So guys, imagine this, right? When someone loses their job, right? And they don't qualify. Well, when somebody loses their job, right, they get like, I think it's 6 months of like unemployment, right? And after those 6 months, if they still can't find a job, then they start getting welfare. That welfare is equals, I think, to more than $1,000 a month. Okay. So this entire thing of like, $1,000 is actually good. In reality, it isn't. And here's my thing, right? How about, right? And the thing is that he makes a lot of good points. His entire like focus is kind of like, I'm not going to give you what can actually keep you poor for the rest of your life. I'm going to give you something that actually keeps you, kind of like here. Okay, this is like poor because people can still survive poor, but right below this line, you can still eat, you can still survive, but you don't want to be here, okay? You don't want to be here living on $12,000 every single year. So I can actually give you everything else that if you do it and you want to do it, you can actually get here, right? No longer poor, not even like, like lower class, but kind of even like middle class, right? What do I mean by this, right? This is my 9th point. I think my 9th point, right? So keep up. Now, what I mean by this is that Andrew, right? He's actually doing this, right? He's saying that, well, I'm going to go into colleges. I'm going to tell them, well, you actually haven't improved. So if you want to qualify for entire loans and stuff like that and federal loans, and if you don't get our federal loans, then you won't survive, okay? So if you want to qualify for these things, you need to cut the costs, right? So that's a good thing. And then he also saying that, well, don't worry about medical bills. We're actually going to help you with Medicaid and a whole bunch of things, right? That's going to be free. Now, thirdly, he's actually saying that, well, anything that you want to do in college will help you get it. You want to like go into a business, will help you get it. You want to like start a business, will help you get it. Okay. Now, here's the entire thing with that, guys, right? That's my 10th point and final point, right? Here it comes. I don't know how the economy is going to react to this, okay? Because I believe in inflation, right? For example, right? the reason I think that medical bills are so high, and I had a conversation with one of the professors from a long time ago about this entire topic, okay? The reason I think that medical bills are so high, back in the days, right, it used to be very competitive, right? Medical bills like used to be very competitive, so it used to be very low. What I mean by that is that hospitals, right, they weren't like really like insured and stuff like that, right? What I mean is that people weren't coming in with insurance and stuff like that. So people were just like coming in with cash, okay? When people come in with cash somewhere, the competition is kind of higher. Oh, you have a higher price? Well, we'll go somewhere else, you know? Now it's kind of like, oh, you have insurance, you're covered. Okay, we're good to go. Oh, you don't have insurance? Well, we're still gonna treat you and we're just gonna bill you, okay? And then you figure it out. If you don't figure it out, we'll send it to collections and then you have to pay it. We'll garnish your wages, okay? That's how it works. Now, imagine that you're getting like all these things for free from like this medical center because, you know, the government is going to give you like universal healthcare. Well, what makes those like hospitals not be able to raise their prices because now the government is actually going to be paying for them? You know what I mean? So that's what things get a little tricky for me, because I think the price is going to go up here. And I also think that, listen, it's not a fix, but it's a good start. Okay, and I might have said a lot of things here that might lead you to believe that I don't agree with a lot of things that he is saying, and I kind of don't. Okay, it's true, but I do agree with a lot of things that he is saying, and I kind of respect it, you know, because from my perspective, it's kind of like I see a lot of people are taking advantage of the system. People are not preparing. And he also talks about vocation work, okay? Because in life in America, you know, and by the way, vocation work is kind of like becoming a plumber, becoming like, like those carpenters and stuff like that. Like those jobs cannot be really automated because there's so many like different things that go into them. So people should actually be leading towards those jobs rather than like, jobs that will be automated like in a few years. Even like law jobs, he's saying that are going to be automated, okay? So here's my first thing, right? I like a lot of things he's saying, okay? I like the entire, if you do like 10% for 10 years of your income for your student loans, then you're good to go, you're cleared. Why? Because, well, if you're not earning a lot, 10% is nothing. If you're earning $60,000, that's $6,000 a year. And it's not really that much. Like 6 times, well, what is it? Like 6 times 10, that's $60,000. And what about if your student loans with $100,000? Well, you just save $40,000. And if it's like, if you're earning a lot of money and you only owe like $40,000, you're not going to give them 10%, obviously, for 10 years because it doesn't make any sense. You're just going to pay off the entire thing in full. But if you're earning less, that makes sense. The entire thing for $1,000, I can see how it can help, but I can also see how it could be a problem for people that are actually in need of help and actually, benefit from that in need of help. But here's my thing. I think that right now what he's saying by saying like, well, it's optional, like you don't have to do it, it's actually good. But I can see that if he does win the entire thing, I can predict that this might be like the entire like standard, it will be this. And then guess what? Like, oh my gosh, I think from a business perspective, guys, I think that it actually will like help the economy like crazy, and it's actually a good thing. But I just don't know how it will affect people that actually need the most help. And that's where things actually get complicated, because if you tell people, well, I only give you $1,000, you don't qualify for anything else, that person will be forced to get in a job, maybe studying, maybe doing all those things, and he's actually going to help with that also. But what about the people that need the most help? Like, what if that becomes a standard and then they can't get any help and they can't work either? Like, what happens then? What happens with this entire New Deal thing? You know what I mean? So, guys, I don't want to lead you into anything. I don't want to tell you vote for this guy, vote for the other guy. I'm not a politician. I'm an entrepreneur. I'm here to actually tell you the facts and actually let you guys make decisions for yourself. And those are the things that I kind of like thought about this entire thing. You know what I mean? So I want to share that with you guys. If you guys like want to correct me on anything that I said, because I said a lot, okay? So you were keeping up, right? Correct me on anything that I said, or you have anything else to input on what I said, or you have any concerns, or you have anything you want to say, then comment it down below, because I'm very interested in having a conversation about this entire thing, because I'm very interested in this, okay? I'll see you guys next time on the next video. And by the way, if you're an entrepreneur, you need to listen to everything that's going on, especially when it comes to like, politicians and stuff like that. Not even if you're not voting, okay? Because you might not want to vote or whatever. I don't get why you wouldn't want to, but if you don't want to, make sure you understand the policies so you can adjust into your business, into those like paper stuff into your business, because I know it's boring, but you do need to like analyze like the policies that will go into effect, if they're going to benefit your business or if they're not going to benefit your business, and what you need to do to actually prepare. I'll see you guys next time on the next video, and peace. You've got to start at the bottom if you're ever gonna reach